So last week I talked about how you should ask for help, and today I want to talk about why you shouldn't listen to others. Sup, I'm Denzel, and these are my wiki thoughts. I'll just be blunt. Listening to and caring about what other people think about you is stupid, because at the end of the day, the only person you need to like and approve of you is you. Now, I wish it was that simple. Oh my god, I wish it would be that simple. But unfortunately, as you might know, it's not. I think we all know people or have been people at some point in time who conform to the norm so much that it becomes hard to tell who they are anymore. Their favorite music is whatever's in the top 50. Their favorite TV show is whatever their friends are watching. They absolutely loathe school or anything educational because God forbid you'd be nerdy enough to actually enjoy mathematics or read books in your own free time. No? Not ringing any bells? Don't worry about it. Allow me to introduce you to 12-year-old me.
Aww.
Stop it. That's not the point. That's probably not the sound you're making, so. But I digress. When I was roughly 12 years old, I was anything but myself. I was somewhat ostracized and, bullied in middle school. So when I graduated and enrolled into high school, I had made a serious, albeit unconscious effort to be as untargetable as possible. Or in other words, I tried to be as close to normal as I could. I mean, I still had my own likes and dislikes, but I was very aware that some of those would be seen as, weird. And yeah, that was not what I was going for, so I made sure to just never speak of those. And I wasn't so sure what people would think about some of my other interests. So just to be safe, I decided it would be better to just never speak about something unless the rest of the group was already talking about it. And you know what? It worked! At the beginning of high school, I had a little friend group. I got invited to play soccer after school. I had people to eat and talk with during lunch. Was I happy? No, but that's not the point because I wasn't alone. And you know what? That's the real reason why things aren't as simple as you just shouldn't listen to what other people tell you. For all that can be said about how bad it is to conform to the norm, there is a reason why we do it. Namely, the need to not be alone. Yes, that's right. The need to not be alone. Not a want, not a like, a need. But speaking of likes, it would be incredible if you would quickly like this video and sub to the channel. Anywho, back to these needs. In the early 1940s, an American psychologist named Abraham Maslow wrote an article titled A Theory of Human Motivation, where he theorized that humans always act in a way that fulfills their unfulfilled needs. Now, these needs are not all created equal, but in fact follow a hierarchy. To run through it quickly, at the base we have our basic needs. These are really just the bare minimum we need to survive, with our physiological needs such as food, water, and rest at the very bottom, and our safety needs such as security and a safe place to stay just above that. If those needs are satisfied, we start focusing on our psychological needs, which are a need for belonging and love, followed by a need for esteem, or a need for accomplishments. And lastly, we focus on a need for self-fulfillment, which is basically a need to live up to your own potential. This model, named Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is pretty well known within psychology, and I personally also think is a very interesting model. But the reason why I'm bringing it up right now is this part right here. According to Maslow, the need to belong is literally the first human need you feel when you aren't literally homeless or dying of thirst and hunger. So with that in mind, it kind of makes sense that we would be willing to change who we are in order to fit in better. Sure, you might prefer reading manga and listening to thoughtful rap, but if you also feel like those things are going to lead to you not being accepted, it's understandable for you to want to ditch them or at least keep them to yourself so you won't risk ending up alone. As I said, this is what I did, and as I also said, it worked! Until it stopped working. Trying to fit in by changing or hiding who you are is unsustainable for some very simple reasons. For starters, there's something I talked about in a video about perfection. What ideal or perfect looks like differs from person to person. So if you try to change yourself to make yourself more likable to one group or person, you'll likely also make yourself less likable for another. Now you might think that's fine. You like the group you belong to now, and if others like you less because of it, that really doesn't matter. But you see, if there's one thing you can always know for certain, is that things change. Humans grow and adapt and constantly morph into new versions of themselves. Some more than others, and as a byproduct of that, groups and what they value constantly changes and rearranges as well. If the main reason why a group accepts you is because you mirror them, then that also means that you will constantly have to change and rearrange who you are. And even if you're able to do that flawlessly, which I'd say most of us wouldn't be able to, this is going to cause a problem. In human relationships, whether it's romantic or friendly or work-related, one of the most important things is trust. And one of the things that builds trust is sincerity. Let's look at the definition for sincerity for a bit, shall we? According to Oxford Languages, sincerity is the absence of pretense, deceit, or hypocrisy. Now, something about the absence of pretense just doesn't quite rhyme well with pretending to be something you're not in order to fit in better, simply. The reason why having to change alongside with the group you're mirroring is going to be a problem is because it's going to show your pretense. It's going to show that you're in a way insincere and you will seem less trustworthy because of it. And if people start feeling like they can't completely trust you, they might not want to stay close to you as much. So even though you're desperately trying to belong and are even tweaking who you are for that purpose, you will end up alone again. But this time, it'll be because you were not yourself. I honestly feel like I'm being really harsh and gloom right now, but that's because I can't help but feel like I'm talking to 12-year-old me when I'm talking about this. And if I really were talking to my past self right now, I would probably take a tone like this one because I wouldn't want him to keep on hiding who he is. I don't want you to keep hiding who you are. Not just because it's unsustainable, but mainly for another reason. Hiding who you are is probably the fastest way to unhappiness. Actually, let me talk about this from a more positive angle. There are probably few things that give more joy than spending time on something that you love. Whether it's baking or dancing or playing an instrument or even making YouTube videos. Involving yourself with something that's fun to you really makes your entire world glow up. There are actually a whole bunch of studies that have shown this effect, and as Abigail Mengers noted in her academic paper, The Benefits of Being Yourself, those studies show that high levels of authenticity correlate positively with high levels of psychological well-being. To put that in simpler terms, research shows that people who show who they believe they are tend to be happier than those who don't. So what are you supposed to do? You don't want to be alone, but you also want to be yourself. It's not going to be easy, but in the long run, I do believe that being yourself is the only answer. Not everyone is going to like everything about the real you. And some people might not even think that the things you like are even likable or worthwhile. But that's okay. What makes this world of ours so interesting to me is that everyone and everything is different. And as a result of that, everybody brings a little something to the table. I personally don't really care about painting. But I've met some people who love it, and I loved listening to them talk about it. It was super interesting to me to listen to people talk about a subject that didn't really do much for me initially with such strong feelings. How the same subject could evoke such strong feelings in my friends while at first leaving me somewhat cold. Because you see things different from me, you are able to show me worlds that I'm not aware of yet. And those kinds of conversations help make my world bigger, more diverse, more beautiful, and a lot more fun to be in. I want to be honest. I know that it can be really scary to drop the facade and the walls and just show the world who you really are. And when you do it, you might have to go through a rougher period of time and maybe battle with loneliness for a little bit. But as someone who has gone through it, I really want you to know that I do think it's worth it. I honestly think that being alone but learning to accept and grow proud of who you are is the preferred alternative to being surrounded by people but feeling like a stranger in your own skin. And believe me, when you start showing who you are and that you've accepted who that is, others will follow suit. You'll find yourself with friends and friend groups who accept you for who you are. And even if they don't share all your same interests, they'll appreciate hearing about those things from you as you become the reason their worlds grow, diversify, beautify, and become a lot more fun to be in. But then again, those are just my wiki thoughts. What's up? Thank you so much for watching all the way to this point of the video. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a like. Also subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you also haven't yet, click on that notification bell so you'll be notified when I post, which if all goes well is every Thursday. Then I really want to take a second to thank everybody who watched the previous videos and especially the people who kind of reached out to me. It's been so nice to hear everybody liking it, and you know, it definitely was an extra boost of motivation to keep on going. It's a lot more than I expected. I did not expect this many of you to like it, so I really appreciate all that. And then lastly, as you might have noticed, it's a lot more empty in my room this week. And that's because I'm changing it up. So if you have any ideas of what I should do with the back of my room, especially kind of as a set for my wacky thoughts, do leave it in the comments. I will be checking them out. And yeah, that's all I had to say for today. Deuces. By the way, if you want to know more about the study I mentioned, the benefits of being yourself, I will include the link in the description box down below. So feel free to check that out. No? No? Hey, shut the fuck up.